Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all keeping well. So in today's video is part 2 of King John. If you haven't seen the first part yet, I'll link it somewhere for you to watch. Otherwise this one will make zero sense. But let's just say in today's video, we start to understand why John earned himself the nickname Bad King John. Yeah. Let's go. In the first video of King John, we saw John snatch Isabel d'Angoulême right from under Hugh de Lusignan's nose. Now we see John marry Isabel on the 24th of August 1200, and he had her crowned Queen of England. Now the couple, they lived separately for a time, because let's remember Isabel was only 12 years old. So John had his new bride live with his ex-wife Isabella of Gloucester. Now Hugh de Lusignan wasn't going to simply stand back and let John get away with snatching his bride-to-be. So he and his supporters in Aquitaine rebelled against John. He attempted to strike back, but it failed. So he decided to ask an old friend for help. And that friend was none other than Philip Augustus. John and Philip, although very similar in age, Philip now aged 34, and he has been playing king for nearly 20 years. John, aged 32, has only been playing king for 1 year. Then in late May 1200, they met up and formally agree on a treaty that's been planned for months. Now, after many long negotiations, now is the time to sign and seal. But who would be the most happy with those agreed terms? Both have agreed on those terms, so both must think they're getting something out of it, but only one would be right. John and Philip have a lot of history together. They've known each other since they were kids, but things have gotten just a tad bit complicated. From the years 1190 to 1194, John and Philip teamed up whilst John's brother Richard was on crusade, and they did their best to split the empire between them. Together they were thick as thieves. But when Richard came back, John knew that he was in big trouble. So he slowly crawled his way back to Richard, and with his tail between his legs, and Richard forgave him. But he quickly put John to work to get everything back that he'd given away to Philip. Now, when Richard died unexpectedly, he named John as his heir before he died. Now things have gotten just a tad bit delicate between John and Philip. For Philip, John may have got himself the big title, King of England, and the crown, but John will never, ever be as good as Richard. Philip may have got angry with Richard and fallen out with him, but he never believed that Richard was anything less than his equal. To Philip, John was simply a boy playing pretend at being king. So Philip has come to offer John a treaty of friendship between their kingdoms. Now that looks and sounds great, but in truth, there's a lot of traps that John simply cannot see. Philip knows that John wants Philip to recognise him as the rightful heir to Richard's French territories, which were in Normandy, Aquitaine, and the connecting lands of Maine, Touraine, and Anjou. Philip knows that John wants him to promise that he won't back John's nephew Arthur of Brittany as the rival claim to the throne of England. Philip thinks that John hasn't got what it takes to go to war for at least 4 to 5 years to achieve all of that, unlike his brother Richard or his father Henry II would have quite happily done. John wants it all now, and that is exactly what Philip gives him. Philip agrees to back John as the new Plantagenet ruler, and all he asks for in return is a few towns on the borders which has been under dispute for many years. Philip also wants some more lands granted to him in another way, by having John agree to marry his niece off to one of Philip's sons. Well, children. Sons, yeah, because niece, yeah, you get what I mean. And one more thing, just one more little thing. Could John recognise Arthur as his heir? So John, he thinks, yeah, that's all agreeable. I can do that. But then Philip says, just one more little thing before we sign the dotted line, just one more little thing. Could John formally recognise Philip as the real boss of all of France and to swear an oath to that, meaning that Philip is the freeholder to Normandy, Anjou, and the rest of the Plantagenet territories? And just to top it off, could John pay 20,000 marks for that peace treaty? If Philip ever approached Henry II or Richard the Lionheart with that list of demands, they'd tell him to go himself and make sure the door smacks him on the ass on the way out. But John would rather have the easy outcome right now and worry about the implications later. Philip and John meet, and it's all hugs and kisses. Oh, where have you been? It's been so long. Oh, we should do this more often, blah, blah, blah. So John walks off with a spring in his step. I'm the King of England. Da, 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 da. But he quickly becomes a laughing stock. Gossip from the time said that John earned himself a new nickname. Soft sword. Now, soft sword is actually very, very unflattering. It's a dig at John's military capability and also his masculinity. So unfortunately for John, the consequences of the treaty is going to take a while before it becomes obvious to him. And once they do, it will truly be devastating. But Philip, he couldn't be happier. He'd set his trap. And now all he's got to do is wait for John to walk right into it. John may have been a soft sword then, but he certainly won't be a pushover for the rest of his reign. Pretty soon, John will show, weak or not, he had a very nasty streak. Less than 2 years later, after the treaty signing, a fisherman on the River Seine pulls out a body of a boy, a teenager. And that teenager was John's nephew, Arthur of Brittany. On the 30th of July, 1202, Eleanor of Aquitaine, aged nearly 80, who's supposed to be in retirement at Fontevraud Abbey, but instead she's caught up in a siege at Mirabeau Castle. Eleanor's youngest son and now King of England, John, is at loggerheads with a coalition of enemies that is led by Eleanor's grandson, Arthur of Brittany. Now, Arthur's forces has been threatening Aquitaine, which is why Eleanor was on the move in the first place. And she's trying to get from Fontevraud to Poitiers, which was the capital, to hold it safe for John. But Arthur's troops have been too fast for her and has caught up with her and her attendants. Eleanor has had to seek shelter at Mirabeau Castle. Unfortunately, Eleanor and her attendants aren't in any fit shape to hold out a long siege, maybe a few days at most even. And it's quite possible that Eleanor has given up all hope of being rescued. There's no help coming from Fontevraud. It's a monastery of monks and nuns, and Poitiers is too far away, and John is 80 miles away in Le Mans. So there's simply no one who could come to her rescue. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is Arthur attacking his own grandmother? Now, you may want to prepare yourself for this, so you may want to take a seat, because it's going to come as quite a shock. But John did something really stupid. I know, we're all in shock. Who would have thought it? John do something stupid. Who would have thought? Sorry, John. But remember the treaty where Philip Augustus got John to agree to a deal that recognised Philip as the ultimate overlord of Western Europe, earning John the nickname Soft Sword, and gave Philip the opportunity to use the treaty as a weapon. So what does John do after the treaty is agreed in early summer of 1200? John practically makes himself an open target, and it all started when John got married. John married Isabel of Gloucester in early 1189. But once he became king, he wanted a new wife. So John used the excuse of being too closely related to Isabella of Gloucester. So John set his sights on another Isabella, using a wealthy heiress, Isabel of Angoulême. And her valuable lands are deep in Aquitaine. Isabella is already engaged to someone else, and she's only 12 years old, whereas John's 32. Now, for John to get his new wife, he pretty much has to abduct her from her current fiancé after his annulment from Isabel of Gloucester came through. John goes to Angoulême and tells them that their daughter is now to marry him and not Hugh de Lusignan, which would have brought peace between their families. But instead, Isabella is now going to be Queen of England. By taking Isabella as his new wife, it's possible that John thought that he would gain more control over Aquitaine. But instead, the warring families of the Angoulêmes and the de Lusignans have now paired up and raised against John and Aquitaine explodes in full rebellion. Now, under the terms of the Treaty of Le Goulet, Philip Augustus commands that John comes to his court in Paris to face up to what he's done. John refuses, and Philip declares that he is no longer the ruler of the Plantagenet lands in France. Arthur of Brittany should take them over. Within months of signing the treaty, John has not only managed to turn everyone against him, but also ignite a full-blown war that is backed by Philip Augustus and led by his nephew Arthur of Brittany. And Isabella's furious fiancé by his side. That is why Eleanor of Aquitaine is now besieged in Marlborough Castle. We got there. But on the 1st of August, when Eleanor and her attendants are contemplating giving in to Arthur and his army, a huge, heavily armed force comes towards Arthur's troops. The cavalry has arrived, and now Arthur's army begins to panic. They can either surrender or die, and the leader of this huge armed force surprises everyone. It is none other than John himself. King John has come to rescue his mother. Fair due, John. Credit's where it's due. Now, John and his army has ridden over 80 miles in 48 hours. John has come to the rescue, and in all fairness, that took some doing, so fair play to him. But Eleanor was only in that situation because of John. But John, it is all because of the way John treated Isabella and Hugh de Lusignan is nothing compared to what comes next. And I'm going to keep you in suspense. So you're going to have to make sure that you click and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I know I'm being mean. You just have to make sure, don't we? Yeah, it's a cliffhanger. What happens next? What does John do next? Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, I'm in a really weird mood today. I'm quite hyper. I don't know why. I swear I've only had one coffee this morning, and that's good for me. I've only had one. So, yeah. I feel like, you know, when you're like, you're really antsy and you want to do something, but you don't know what. Anyway. So yes, so that is that. That is today's video. Make sure you like and subscribe and share and keep doing all the brilliant stuff because you're all bloody amazing. And thank you so much for all of your comments recently. And I really appreciate it. And our friend who we sadly lost a couple of weeks ago, we spent some time with her son yesterday. So yeah, that was really nice, and they're doing well. They're doing really well. So yes, oh no, in the scheme of things, that yes, they are doing well. So anyway, yes. So enjoy yourselves, enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing. Enjoy your week, and I will see you all soon for the next video. And I'm still really hyper, and I don't know why. I think I need another coffee. Anyway, I'm going, otherwise I'll keep on rambling on forever about coffee. I love my coffee. I do love a bit of coffee. Anyway, I'm going. Right, bye.